Coming up, tough decisions as the town enters crunch time for FY19.
The lasting impact that it will have on the staff, and most importantly, the students in the district, is my biggest concern.
We'll tell you more about the challenges ahead.
We had a feeling when we got into the ambulance that this was the real deal.
Firefighters meet a family and the baby they delivered in a unique location. And with one election over and another ahead, campaigns are ramping up for and against questions on the November ballot.
We expect that there are laws to protect us wherever we go and whatever we do.
The question that would repeal transgender protections in the Commonwealth. These stories more coming up on the Bridgewater Review. Thanks for watching our May 4th edition of Bridgewater Review. I'm John Luck.
And I'm Scott Olson, and since it's May the 4th, may the Force be with you.
It's really how we're going to start the show.
Yes, it is. 100%.
It's going to be one of those episodes I see.
Yep.
But we begin our show with the results from the April election. Less than 3% of the town's registered voters showed up at the poll on April 28th.
Now, all the races were uncontested. Marley Kenny Hunt will continue as town clerk for another 3-year term. Aisha Loach, Tim Fitzgibbons, Dennis Gallagher, and Fred Chase remain on the council.
Michael Dolan and Jason Hammond will continue to represent Bridgewater on the BR School Committee. Rainham voters re-elected Tony Gelfi and voted in Rachel King to take Patricia Riley's seat. Riley was elected to the Board of Selectmen in Rainham, ending her 12 years on the committee. 7 of those were spent as a chairwoman.
Now, Ms. Riley was thanked by the committee and State Senator Mark Pacheco for her service to the communities. Now, we'll have more on that coming up later on. Voters will head to the polls again this November. There are several high-profile questions on the state ballot, including an option to drop the sales tax, a potential increase on taxes for those making over $1 million annually, and the repeal of the 2016 transgender protection law. In our next story, Alicia Fortin talks with a family personally affected by its outcome.
In 2016, Beryl and Vernon Domingo were among the many witnessing history.
We sat in the State House in Boston for 7 hours while this was debated.
Legislators in Massachusetts passed a law prohibiting discrimination based on gender identity.
And it was just a joyful time for those of us in the gallery sitting and seeing our representatives voting on this issue, taking away that idea that transgender is something strange, making sure that transgender people had civil rights in our society.
Soon after that bill was signed into law, opponents confirmed they received enough signatures to bring it to the November ballot for repeal in 2018.
To have it come back now, after all these years, is very distressing, very disappointing.
The outcome of the ballot will affect them on a personal level. Vernon and Beryl's son, Micah, was born and raised female. He came out as transgender in 2009.
I can remember it like it was yesterday. We were definitely stunned, became very worried. What would his life be like? What would this be for him in the society? How would he manage? So we needed to find a way to get us to the point where we could understand what this was all about and really feel that we can truly embrace it and accept it and support him.
They began by seeking out a support system of their own. The organization, Parents and Families of Gay, Lesbian, and Transgender Children, connected them with others on the same journey.
We felt validated that we, because I felt kind of guilty that I was feeling sad and worried, and but then I realized that this is probably pretty normal for families in the beginning.
Micah now lives in New York and his family remains close.
Micah always tells us that the best day of his life, the day that he always remember and will always celebrate, is the day he started hormone treatment.
It was like he was reborn. And Micah's very happy. He's just outgoing and he's living the life that he wants to live.
Through their experiences, they've also seen the challenges and rejection transgender people face. The Domingos are now holding public presentations at area libraries and schools, educating the public on the term transgender and the anti-discrimination law.
In Massachusetts and in many other states, prior to 2016, if you walked into a restaurant and you're a transgender person, you could be denied services. You could go into a hospital and say, I'm a transgender person, and they could care less and not treat you the way according to the gender that you identify with. You could be fired from your job if you come out as transgender. So there were lots of different areas in daily lives that people, transgender people especially, were experiencing discrimination, harassment. They were often targets of harassment and even violence.
The law bans discrimination against transgender people in housing, education, and unemployment. The law also says transgender people have the right to use public accommodations in accordance with one's gender identity. The campaign leading the opposition focuses on the latter.
One of the issues that we're concerned about is that the other side is trying to make this a case of bathroom bill.
We see that as totally ridiculous because there are laws, if you commit a crime, anybody that commits a crime, there are laws to deal with that. And to sort of push this issue as if somehow people will use this gender identity law as a cover to commit a crime in a restroom or in a locker room. This seems so far-fetched. Why would people want to take away the rights of a group of other people?
People have the right to determine their own sexual orientation and also in this case, their own identity. And that's a really important point. It's been a great journey for us, broadening our perspective of the human family. So, and for us, it's really a family issue. And families need to embrace our children as they proceed on their life's journey.
The lasting impact that it will have on the staff, and most importantly, the students in the district, is my biggest concern.
You can see there a show of solidarity for the BR School District. Supporters showed up to the April 24th council meeting wearing red, the move prompted by potential cuts to the district's budget. Bridgewater-Rainham School Committee member Lillian Holbrook was at the town council meeting on April 24th to address some of the potential issues the district could face if it doesn't get the funding it's looking for. A few months ago, Superintendent Derek Swenson made a preliminary budget with 16.5 new positions. That includes a first-grade teacher, 2 second-grade teachers, 2 psychologists for the district, and 2 school adjustment counselors. The school committee voted to cut that proposed list in half to just 8 new positions. The district would still have a first-grade and 2 second-grade teachers, and the 2 psychologists and school adjustment counselors as well. However, according to Mrs. Holbrook, without the funding they're looking for, those 8 proposed positions would be cut, and then there would be some cuts to the current staff and programs as well.
These 8 positions directly affect the students and are much needed in order to reduce the class size as well as to meet the social and emotional needs of the students in our district. In March, a final hard number of 3.68% assessment was given to the school committee and superintendent during the public budget hearing. It would take a 5.74 increase to maintain existing services in the FY19 budget. Not only does this result in all 8 new positions being eliminated, but additional cuts are required to current staff and materials that will substantially reduce the level of existing services.
According to the written statement, the district would have to transfer $564,986 from the school choice account to maintain the reduced level of programs. Later on during the open forum, citizens had concerns about the potential elevated class sizes.
To say that I am disheartened to learn that the class sizes at the elementary level are on the rise and can't be addressed due to school district's budget not being level funded is an understatement. This is an unacceptable start to a student's education, as well as a potential safety issue for our youngest population.
The school truly is the bedrock, but when we're not fully resourcing the school, those children are being neglected. As a professional social worker, I see this every single day, the impact that resources are not made available at school-age children, the impact that it has on them. We are right now the only department that has not been level funded, and borrowing from the account and starting the following year with a deficit really is not a good, solid business practice.
According to Mrs. Holbrook, the potential is there to cut many services and jobs, including a new IT curriculum service, 2 administrators, the textbook budget would be reduced, custodial supplies would be reduced as well, extracurriculars, and more. At the end of the meeting during councilor comments, Sean George said this budget process has involved some tough decisions.
It's been alluded to, maybe it does come down to some pretty tough decisions for us to be able to get to a point where I don't think anyone in the town or the district is going to be happy. And that's probably not a good goal to have because I don't think it's attainable, but there may be some room for things to look at the town perspective that we may need to reconsider in order for us to allocate some funds.
Also at the regional, school officials are adopting a new tradition. Starting next year, the senior class will hold a senior sale instead of the senior prom. According to Principal Angela Watson, the decision was based upon individual cost of prom and safety concerns. She explained in the Bridgewater Independent, saying, quote, "Talking with the seniors over the years, they expressed the overwhelming cost associated with the senior year as a whole and how so much money went into the senior prom and they did not even want to stay. Seniors in prior years were never given a time until which they were mandated to stay at the prom. They would leave anywhere from 8 p.m. on because they wanted to attend after-hour parties and events. We were not comfortable with either of these things. The senior sale will be a semi-formal event and take place out in Boston Harbor. It will be a part of the school's senior week. Again, this won't happen until the 2018-2019 school year."
BTV was recently on hand for a special reunion between town firefighters and a local family. Samantha Mason gave birth to her daughter Isla in the back of an ambulance in early April.
We had a feeling when we got into the ambulance that this was the real deal and this was going to be a delivery, whether it was on the road, at the house, or at the hospital.
And this was the real deal for these firefighters on April 2nd as they got a call that Samantha Mason was going into labor.
After we went outside, they put me on a stretcher. And when we left, it felt like 10 minutes of pain. They were telling me that she was crowning and she was coming and to push. And they just made it wicked comfortable, and it was honestly wicked scary.
Jason Anaki, Jonathan Hart, Thomas Luckman III, and John Maloof knew that time was of the essence when they heard the call come into the station, and they had to be ready for baby Isla to be born as soon as possible, even in an ambulance while on the way to the hospital.
And you just drive as fast as you can, hoping you can make it to the hospital, but eventually we threw in the towel and pulled over to the side right off Route 18, and that's when baby Isla showed up.
With all the craziness going on, the firefighters and baby Isla's father maintained their composure throughout the entire birth.
You revert back to your training, along with the ambulance that shows up. The engine comes with some additional help, so we had another firefighter, John Maloof, driving, and the leadership and calming presence of Captain Schlatt's on scene really kept us grounded, and helped the call go a lot smoother than it could have.
Hearing the cries, hearing the screaming, and telling them to push and push, it was unbelievable, honestly. And in the front, I was anxious.
And for Jason Anaki, who's been on the department for only a short time, this is a moment that some seasoned firefighters and paramedics don't go through for their entire career.
Usually people go their entire career without delivering a baby, well, at least in the field. So it's pretty crazy, 3 weeks in. So I think we all did a pretty good job.
The new family visited the fire station on April 25th, and a rare opportunity for the firefighters to meet the baby that was born in their ambulance.
Yeah, I thought I was going to cry. I really did. I was like, I'm going to be crying.
It's nice. A lot of times we don't get any follow-up with our patients. We leave them at the emergency room and head back to Bridgewater, and that's the last we ever see of them. So it's nice. Thank you guys for coming in and sharing this experience with us.
At their meeting on April 24th, the council heard the financial state of the town with their fiscal year 2017 audit. Tony Roselli from Roselli, Clark & Associates told the town that they are in much better shape than in prior years. Now, it's a far cry from 2012 when the town barely had any money in reserves or an audit at all.
The town also had almost a junk bond rating in the B category and basically hit rock bottom. You can see since then, the town, and the way I categorize it is, we came in, we did our audits, we made a bunch of recommendations.
And according to Mr. Roselli, the town listened to those recommendations, building the reserve since 2010, and credited the financial success of the town to an override a few years ago and forecasting 5 or 6 years out. Even though the reserves have plateaued for a couple of years, he expects the upward trends to continue. Later in the presentation, a chart showing averages for reserves shows that Bridgewater is close to being a Tier 1 town, which is 15% or more. This was surprising to the auditors.
And then here's where it gets interesting. 10 years ago, I never thought I'd have this conversation. Even 5 years ago, I didn't think I'd have this conversation. Bridgewater was a B. When your bond rating begins with a B, BA, BAA, BAA1, that means you're junk. That means nobody wants to touch you. You had to basically beg Moody's to come out and rate you.
And you can view the entire council meeting on Channel 22 or anywhere, anytime online at btvaccess.com. When we return, a well-known school official begins a new chapter.
Schools will always be number one. And I will always, I may not be in this seat, but I'll always be supporting what you do.
Plus, the unhealthy habits that selfies could cause. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
When you have a hole in your neck, don't face the shower head. Keep your stomach covered when you're outside. Be very careful shaving. Get used to eating only soft foods. Clean out your speech valve twice a day.
You can quit. For free help, visit cdc.gov/tips.
Hey, Fozzie, it's really nice out here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. I think I got something. Yeah, Kermit, I got... Kermit? That's the third can I caught today. How'd those things get in there?
Well, people sometimes wander by and just toss stuff into the water.
Well, don't they understand how important clean water is to fish in and to swim in and to make a decent glass of lemonade with?
Yeah, we all forget sometimes. Water is something we have to conserve and keep clean.
Sounds easy enough.
You know, if you'd like some free tips from my friends at the National Wildlife Federation on how you can use water wisely, write to Kermit, National Wildlife Federation, Washington, D.C. 20036.
Who are you talking to?
Longtime school committee member and chairperson Patricia Riley is beginning a new chapter with the Rainham Board of Selectmen. Ms. Riley's service was recognized at a recent school committee meeting with a citation from State Senator Mark Pacheco and a plaque from the school committee for her 12 years of service.
I just wanted to be here and tell you how much so many, not only in the Bridgewater-Rainham system, but throughout the entire region, and in many cases, the issues that you have dealt with here at BR have led to statewide considerations of policy.
I just think in terms of the bigger picture, in terms of BR and what you've given to the students here in your endless hours, not only here at school committee meetings, but what you do with Read Across America and the veterans and everything you do with RAVE. You are going to be sorely missed. I'm going to miss you personally and professionally.
I would not have decided this very difficult decision if I wasn't confident that we have a great school committee. We have a great person who's going to be filling my seat on the school committee. Schools will always be number one, and I may not be in this seat, but I'll always be supporting what you do.
Over at Bridgewater State, the university hosted a Fun Day fundraiser, and Ian Breyer has more.
On April 28th, Bridgewater State's University MARC program held a fundraiser at University Park. MARC, or the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center, is an academic center of BSU. The group conducts research, hosts conferences and workshops, and brings anti-bullying and anti-cyberbullying programs to K-12 faculty, staff, administration, students, parents, and communities in Massachusetts and across the nation. In collaboration with the BSU Best Buddies program, the Field Day fundraiser featured bouncy houses for kids, as well as tie-dyeing, food, raffles, and a dance performance by BSU's Urban Renegade. All of the proceeds go to the MARC program to create these anti-bullying programs. You can learn more about this program online at facebook.com/MARCBSU.
To your health this week, and with cell phones today, you can take pictures of anything, and that includes yourself. Of course, we're referencing selfies, because, Scott, you take selfies all the time.
That's not true.
But it may not be all fun and games, so prepare yourself. Mary Evers has more.
In 2018, we take selfies and put them on social media. However, experts are looking at whether taking and sharing too many selfies is part of a bigger problem. Dr. B says that we post these selfies to boost our mood or play a game of comparison.
I think it ends up, having something to do with our brain chemistry. I think people are trying to treat their brains, stimulate positive chemistry. There's a social comparison thing going on in the internet as well. We look at other people, they're having great lives. I want to look like I'm having a great life, so I post my best moments or best photos out on the internet.
A recent study looked at a group of students and related their selfie-taking behavior to 6 categories, including self-confidence, attention-seeking, mood modification, environmental enhancement, conformity, and social competition. Researchers say that looking at the changing landscape of technology might help gain a better understanding of how overusing technology can lead to addictive behaviors. Dr. B did not take part in this research, but says that most people who take a lot of self-images tend to fall into categories of looking to boost their mood or their self-confidence. He says selfie taking only becomes a problem when it causes us to become too self-aware. Dr. B says focusing too much on ourselves tends to enhance bad feelings, and sometimes we will take measures to try to counteract these bad feelings, and they're not always healthy. Another study shows that distorting effect that occurs when we take pictures at a close selfie distance is prompting an uptick in folks seeking plastic surgery just for the purpose of looking better in pictures on social media platforms. Dr. B says gaining control over your social media behavior comes down to setting limits for yourself.
Stay away from your phone, for periods of time. Try not to access it so that you gain governance. When we're getting involved with our emotional brain, it really overrides our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that helps make good decisions, plan, predict the future, consequences of our behaviors. You got to make these decisions about how we're using technology, phones, taking pictures, posting ourselves.
Dr. B says that we don't have to cut out selfies altogether, but moderation is key. It's okay to have fun with them, but don't get swept away. In other health news, we all try to catch up on our favorite shows, and if they're really good, we'll binge watch them. As it turns out, research has shown that binge watching can often lead to binge eating. Dr. Susan Albers at the Cleveland Clinic says that this trend can be especially troublesome for teenagers.
Teens can be up until 2 in the morning, binge watching their favorite show, and then the next day, they aren't as focused, they lose concentration. Even if you miss an hour or 2 of sleep, this affects your appetite hormones, so you're going to be eating more the next day.
Dr. Albers says when we're sitting in front of the TV for an extended period of time, that's also when we tend to go for more snacks. And she says snacks often serve the same escape as TV viewing. Just like adults, teens will use television as a distraction from the everyday world and sometimes even as an escape from their emotions, which are the same triggers for emotional comfort eating. Dr. Albers says teens spend an average of 6 hours a day in front of a screen. If they're in front of the TV for at least 3 hours, they're at risk of eating more snacks, anywhere from 200 to 500 extra calories a day. To combat the binge watching and binge eating cycle, Dr. Albers recommends talking to your teen and setting limits on how much TV time is appropriate. She says it's okay to snack every now and then, but make sure that those snacks are well thought out in advance.
If you do have a snack as you're binge watching TV, make sure to portion it. Don't eat out of a bag or a box. Make sure that you portion out your snack as you're sitting in front of the TV.
Dr. Albers also recommends keeping hands busy while watching TV by crafting or even moving on the treadmill. She also says that earlier in the day is the best time to watch TV because we tend to engage in binge eating more frequently in the evening.
Thanks, Mary. Now taking a look at today's tech, Cambridge Analytica is announcing that they will shut down. The firm is allegedly responsible for sharing nearly 87 million Facebook information to political groups during the 2016 election. The firm released a statement on its website that reads, quote, "Over the past several months, Cambridge Analytica has been the subject of numerous unfounded accusations and, despite the company's efforts to correct the record, has been vilified for activities that are not only legal, but also widely accepted as the standard component of online advertising in both the political and commercial arenas. Despite Cambridge Analytica's unwavering confidence that its employees have acted ethically and lawfully, the siege of media coverage has driven away virtually all of the company's customers and suppliers. As a result, it has been determined that it is no longer viable to continue operating the business," end quote. All right, well, let's talk about what's on BTV this month. Senator Ed Markey hosted a public forum to discuss net neutrality. The principle requires all internet providers to treat all websites and apps the same, meaning that they can't provide faster service to some websites. In December, the FCC repealed this policy, saying that the move promotes competition.
BR cheerleaders are on 4D Sports Talk. The national champs head back to the 4D Sports Talk studio to talk about their latest state championship.
And Green City growers were in town to show residents how to transform any available unused space into thriving urban farms, providing people with immediate access to nutritious food while revitalizing city landscapes and inspiring self-sufficiency. The group is responsible for making Fenway Park one of America's greenest ballparks.
And when we return, we'll tell you about some of the award winners over at BR and a longtime Bridgewater State coach bids farewell.
Plus, the historic opening weekend for superhero fans. Mark McCurna's take on Avengers: Infinity War next. may have to cut out ballpark. It seemed like that story kind of ended.
Smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Why do you think your mommy or daddy are always telling you, don't put that in your mouth? Let's find out.
Hi, kids. Why are we on television anyway? We're here to tell a little story about why you shouldn't put things into your mouth when you don't know what they are. But you can help me sing a song about eating things that don't belong inside you.
Okay, don't you put it in your mouth. Don't you stuff it in your face. Don't stuff it in your face. Remember, boys and girls, don't put it in your mouth.
Always ask someone you love before you put anything in your mouth.
Welcome back to Bridgewater Review. I'm Brian Berard with your BR Recap. Senior captain Doug Alves of the boys basketball team was recently recognized as the Brockton Enterprise and Taunton Gazette All-Scholastic. Doug, of course, was a 1,000-point scorer in his career, and the Trojans basketball team made it all the way to the Division I South Sectional quarterfinals. Now on to the girls basketball team. 3 Lady Trojans were honored as All-Scholastics: senior Shannon Lynch, junior Kaylee Matalanis, and junior Kylie Pesci. The girls basketball team went on a remarkable 16-game winning streak, going all the way to the Division I South Sectional semifinals. Finally, Megan Kramer was also recognized as an All-Scholastic. She won the 100-meter breaststroke state championship, became the first Trojan swimmer ever to win a state championship, while also finishing second in the 200-meter individual medley. Moving on to spring sports now, Gina Ricciotti scored her 100th goal of her career for the girls lacrosse team in a 22-15 victory over Ursuline Academy. By the way, Ricciotti is only a sophomore. BR softball continued their winning ways after a 6-0 win against Durfee. The next game is under the lights tonight at Plymouth North. That's your BR recap. John?
All right, thanks, Brian. Bridgewater State's baseball team has had a tough 2018, entering their doubleheader against Framingham State on a 9-game losing streak. However, records took a backseat on April 21st as the university honored their longtime baseball coach, Rick Smith.
My mother, who put me in spikes when I was probably 8 years old, 7 years old, and now I'm taking them off. Not going to be on the field anymore. I want to thank John Harper for giving me this opportunity many years ago. The legacy is behind me over here. It's all of these guys that have come today and the young men over there that are still in uniform. We've built a tradition, we've built a family here. And the family goes way beyond just what's on this field. It's a tradition that will last a long time. I couldn't be any prouder to have coached this team and to have met as many wonderful people along the way.
Through the late 90s, Rick Smith was one of the most successful coaches in Division III baseball, taking his 1996 and 97 squad to the NCAA Division III College World Series, making it to the semifinals in 1996 with a program record of 31 wins. On the MASCAC level, Smith's teams won MASCAC regular season championships in 1996 through 98, 2000, 2001, 2003 to 2006, and 2012. Bridgewater State were also 5-time MASCAC conference champions, earning him 549 career wins. While the baseball team wrapped up their season at 5-22, the softball team opened MASCAC tournament play at Alumni Park against the Salem State Vikings. The hometown Bears picked up the 9-1 5-inning win. Rebecca Ushman got the scoring start with a 3-run home run in the bottom of the first inning and ended the day 2 for 2 at the plate. Natalie Sorrenti got the start in the circle and went the distance, allowing an earned run on 4 hits and 3 strikeouts, advancing the Bears to the MASCAC quarterfinals against Worcester State. And Bridgewater State suffered their first loss in this double elimination MASCAC tournament to Worcester State, 6-5. The game was getting away from the Bears in the 4th inning, but Bridgewater State fought for the season with 3 runs in the top of the 7th. Shannon Grindle hit a 2-run single to make it a 6-4 game. BSU would add another run, but lose 6-5. With that loss, the softball team does still have one more chance to continue on in their season in this double elimination tournament. They'll take on the Westfield State Owls. We'll have a recap of that one coming up on our next episode of the program. Over at Swenson Field, the BSU lacrosse team took on a 3-13 Salem State Vikings squad in the MASCAC playoffs. Yes, you heard me right. A team 10 games under 500 made the playoffs. But BSU picked up the 19-13 win. Nevertheless, Gateway had 5 goals on 12 shots, while Elizabeth Ettridge had 4 goals on 5 shots, picking up their 12th win of the season. The season would come to an end, however, in the MASCAC semifinals against Framingham State by the 18-10 final.
Avengers: Infinity War took in over $800 million in its opening weekend. This broke the previous record held by Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Pretty fitting for the May 4th edition of the newscast.
There you go. And of course, our resident film guy was there. Mark?
Hello and welcome to the Hollywood Lowdown, the segment that has everyone saying that fat guy's never been with a woman. Oh yeah, guy, you know who you are. You know, growing up a comic book geek wasn't easy for kids of my generation. Sporting a Superman or Batman t-shirt was an automatic invite to get yourself beat up, leading to years of intense therapy and deeply resenting your middle school. Talking comics made you a target by the elite and alpha males who, ironically, lacked the intelligence to even follow the panel order of a comic book page. And trying to explain the appeal of superheroes and supervillains to non-comic book loving friends or loved ones was like someone trying to explain to me how not all foods need to have melted imitation cheese drizzled all over them. But at least I didn't grow up during the 50s, where comics were just as much hated and blamed for all juvenile delinquency as sex, drugs, and Elvis pelvic thrusts that they actually held bonfires a la Salem witch trials on 10-cent childhood innocent stories sold on the same stands as Look magazines and trashy pulp sex novels, which no one seemed to care about. Pretty messed up, yeah, but this was also a time when one thought hiding under a school desk could protect you from atomic explosions. But I digress. Oh, how the times have changed, for now our superheroes have leapt from the comic pages and onto the silver screen, and oh, how they are stronger than ever, some more than others. Infinity War made more money than what's in Bill Gates' wallet opening weekend shortly after Black Panther ravaged the box office, where only before that Wonder Woman stormed a new era for girl power, where even before that Thor Ragnarok stood godlike over the box office for 3 weeks, beating out even the Justice League movie. Heck, even the small screen and streaming sites aren't safe. Punisher, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, they continue to satisfy binge-watching goodness, and over at the CW, The Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and Black Lightning continue to score high ratings for more lighter but lovable comic book fun, and whose Silver Age-like universe has ironically held a better universe than the DC films. I said universe a lot just then. That's okay. And of course, over at Fox, Gotham continues its own growing Batman mythology, which just seems to get better as the show explores new concepts and ideas into the Batman universe. Where only decades ago, we never seemed to hear much from superheroes, unless you were Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, the Hulk, and what seemed to be endless rebooting of all of them. Now we have new characters dominating the mountain with Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Panther, Thor, Ant-Man, and Iron Man. And while Marvel rides a success wave it so rightfully deserves after a few decades of struggling to get their voices heard, DC continues to find its direction and clean out all the bugs with some of its less successful films, but shows no sign of throwing in the towel. Yet. And whether you're a DC or a Marvel fan, or, like me, both, our appetites for superhero movies show no sign of slowing down. From the Marvel Tower, fans are already gearing up for Deadpool 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, a solo Captain Marvel film, Black Panther 2, and a sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. Heck, there's even now a Venom picture soon to be hitting theaters, which boasts Spider-Man's greatest villain without Spider-Man. Yeah, okay, makes sense. While over at DC, Wonder Woman 2 will be lassoing her way with a promising sequel, which we hope will lead to a more brighter universe for DC. Both Aquaman and The Flash, who are more popular and positive characters of the Justice League, will be back with their own solo films. And lastly, in a solo Joker movie, which is very hush-hush at the moment, it will showcase Batman's greatest villain, without Batman. Tune in next time when I start hyping up some of the blockbusters coming out that aren't superhero movies for moviegoers who have little to no interest in comic books. And judging by my research, that'll probably take about 60 seconds. So that's good for you. That's less of me. You have to watch and listen, but that's also bad because that's more of John Luck that you have to see and listen to. Now, if you'll excuse me, Gorilla Grodd has returned for an epic battle with The Flash, and Metamorpho just joined the Terrifics along with Plastic Man, and they just...
Oh, what a shame. That's all the time we have for Mark this week. Hate it when that happens. Okay, anyways, to your news and notes now. The town will be holding its annual rabies clinic on May 19th at the Highway Barn at 151 High Street. If you have a dog 6 months or older, you can stop by from 9 to 11 a.m., and your dog must be on a leash. And if you have a cat, the cat must be in a carrier. Each vaccine is $12, and you can pay with cash or check. Dog licenses will be available. For more info, you can call 508-697-0903.
This is a sure sign that spring is finally here. The Bridgewater Garden Club is hosting the annual plant sale from 9 to 12 p.m. on May 12th. You can purchase plants including tomato plants, perennials, trees, bushes, and more. Proceeds from the sales go to scholarships for high school graduates and civic beautification projects.
The Bridgewater-Rainham Regional High School students, led by instructor Miss Shirley Wood, are exhibiting artwork in the Flora T. Little Gallery. The exhibition will be on display during the month of May and is open to the public during regular library hours.
That's all the time we have for this edition of Bridgewater Review.
We're not going to do something cool for Star Wars Day. We're just going to end it.
I feel like there's a certain company that would be very upset if we tried to pull something like that.
Frankenstein does it. Why not? Anyways, we hope you'll join us for our next episode of the program. I'm John Luck.
And I'm Scott Olson. Thanks for watching.